Where is this? Ah, released at last. And you. I see you. Who are you? No, wait. No, I have appeared before you. This is your place. Let me tell you about who I am. I am the greatest storyteller in the world. Or at least I was. But no more. For many years I travelled around Europe, around the courts of the palaces, around villages, cities, festivals and theatres. My tales filled people's minds with hope and fear and love. During my travels, I needed to stay wherever I could find. People didn't pay me in money for my tales. They paid me good food and a shelter over my head. I remember it. It's painful. The dark, the cold, the rain driving into my face, stinging my cheeks. And nothing. Nowhere to stay. I pulled myself against the wind. Trees, bushes, get further and further forward. Surely there was a place, even a rock. Something to just shelter behind. And that's where I saw it. A light. A flickering light. Flickering through the darkness. Even though the wind was a gust and a gale, the light bobbed gently up and down, taking no notice of the force that was unleashed upon it. With renewed strength, I crept towards it. I couldn't tell you how big the house was, if indeed it was a house or a hole in the side of the cliff. But a low door, thick oak, with a cold, cruel handle that when you gripped it, bit into your flesh. But I hammered on that door, despite my misgivings, as my only place of salvation. The door opened. Slowly at first, hesitatingly. But as it swung further, I saw inside a dark room, filled only with the firelight of the huge hearth at one end. I fell through the door and landed a wet puddle upon the floor, thanking my host, who stepped backwards into the shadow, a bundle of rags with just the tip of a nose sticking out. A covered hand beckoned me towards the fire, where warm rugs were laying. I didn't argue. My strength was gone. I was spent. And as I lay there dreaming in front of the fire, the bundle of rags skirting around the side of the firelight, never coming closer towards the flames, brought me a bowl of nourishing soup. Greedily I ate it, and then I slept. When I awoke, the clouds wheeled above me. The hiss in the trees and the grass surrounded me. I jumped up. The house. The fire. Gone. I was laid on my back, in my clothes, in the middle of a forest. All my belongings were still there. My first thought, had I been robbed, had I been tricked and drugged, but everything was still there. It took me minutes, hours to gather my thoughts, to try to comprehend what had happened to me. But in the end I felt, who cares? I had food, I had shelter, and the person is gone. So I moved on. I trudged maybe a day, maybe 2 days, until I reached the next town. And it was nightfall when I got there. The sentry on the gate didn't seem to heed my passing, even though I said good evening. So I slipped inside the town and headed for the tavern, where I knew I could earn my supper and possibly shelter by telling one of my tales. Although it was dark in the tavern, there were candles and there were fire, and I crept in at the back, spotting my opportunity. Who would need a tale? Who would need a story? Who would pay me in food that evening? Where was the master with the money? I found a stool beside one of the fires, and a huge merchant covered in furs and silver and gold adorned his fingers. And as was my custom, I began to speak. Wait! I have tales to tell. Tales for one and all. The place stopped. Every eye in the bar turned towards my stool. Every eye did not rest upon me, but moved, searching side to side. And a voice from the back shouted, "Where is he?" "Ah, you wish for my tales, do you?" I said, standing up. And immediately, every person in the tavern drew back from where I was sat. "He's a ghost! He's a spirit! Get the priest!" Voices clamoured and shouted. There was a rush at the door. And it was then I realised I was a body no more. I was simply a figure in the flickering firelight. A shadow. I realised I was in trouble. I escaped. Jumping round the edges of the tavern, away from the crazed, mad, frightened people, and out into the night. Since then I've wandered for many, many years, trying to find where my body has gone. I tried to return to the place where I lost it. But there is only a forest there that will not let me in. As I push into the trees, they resist my entrance. And I am stuck as this shadow. But what I have found is that when I can tell tales, parts of my strength return. when I focus on bringing out the stories that are inside my head, I become less of a shadow and more of a person again. Perhaps, today, you have come here to help me with some story. With your ideas and your bodies, you could help me to become a man again. Do you think you would be able to help me? Excellent. Now, how shall we do this? I have enough strength in me to come to you for a short while, and then I will see you with my own mortal eyes.